All right, what is up? We are back again. Race Brain HYROX Rundown. Although today we're rebranding. This is the Race Brain LT Games presented by Lifetime Fitness, presented by 10,000 Rundown. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We have the director and creator or co-creator, Wes?
I'm never going to take full credit. Let's go co-creator.
Okay. Co-creator of the Lifetime Games, Wes Robertson, and the first ever LT Games world record holder. That's right. Added to the Instagram bio for about 1 hour. This is the fastest man in LT Games history. We got Debo, Marcus Wallace. Marcus, how we doing, man?
I was really hoping I would get that street cred, but I got to be honest, I think it was only about 14 minutes I could claim that for, but
hey,
I made sure to claim it for those 14.
What the people don't know can't hurt them. What they don't know can't hurt them. Gentlemen, thank you so much for both joining. We appreciate it. Marcus, this is your second podcast in like 18 hours? Dude, you're just on the circuit right now.
Yeah, I was making my kids dinner last night. I hopped on a rival podcast. I was hanging out with them over the weekend, though. I figured I might as well.
Dude, they're not rivals. We love Mappy Davis. We love Cheryl. We love Ugly Dave. Those are our people. We appreciate them. Wes, you're also, man, you've been on the pods, dude. You've been out there preaching the gospel that is LT Games, man. So dude, super excited to have you for, I guess, just really quickly in case people live under a rock. Although if you listen to Race Brain, you're probably in the hybrid community. I guess, do you want to just give us like a quick overview, like your 30,000 foot overview of what the LT Games is to get the listeners up to speed?
Yeah, no, first of all, I appreciate you having me. It's been great to meet new people and get the opportunity to talk on podcasts like this. But LT Games is Lifetime Fitness hybrid fitness race. It is our version of what hybrid means inside the space. The great thing about Lifetime is we run classes inside of every Lifetime that you can find. Our signature group training has different boutiques inside of it. And LT Games, like you said, 30,000 foot view. LT Games is pretty much just a mashup of all of those formats and brands that we have inside of our space. So like I said, myself and plenty other people were part of kind of building this race format. But we were really excited to bring it to the world and could not have imagined the weekend that we just had. So super excited to see what the future holds for us.
I wanted to know, when did this all start to come to be, the idea for Lifetime Games? And was it like a top down, like someone at like a director level is like, we need this answer to HYROX? Or was it sort of bottom up, like people were doing this in the different clubs and then you sort of were like, oh, we want to be able to provide this for our members?
No, that's a great question. And I'm going to say it was somewhere in the middle, right? Because let's call it what it is. Even though I have LT Games logo behind me, everyone knows inside of a Lifetime, anybody that's interested in this knows what HYROX is. So we have clubs that, you see someone and you're like, oh, I can tell that person's training for a HYROX, right? You watch what they're doing and you can see that. But then also the higher ups at Lifetime, definitely noticed these types of things as well. Bahram Akradi, our founder, is a visionary for a lot of these things, right? We started making pickleball courts and taking basketball courts and turning them into pickleball courts, well before pickleball really started to take off. So we're ahead of the game there. So I would say I'm the guy that's kind of right in the middle, from the top and the bottom. And then this has been, for me, probably a 16-month project. I've got some other roles and responsibilities, but at Lifetime, I was able to raise my hand, and someone noticed that my hand was raised to get to work on this project. So I will say, I think I've said it on a couple different podcasts, but this is probably version 7 or 8 of the workout. We had plenty of different things that we tested. I put myself through, I put other people through. I just posted one of my counterparts, Jessica Feldman, has been kind of the visionary of bringing everything to make it pretty. I'm not the guy that makes anything pretty, but she made everything pretty. And we started with horse stall mats, like calling Tractor Supply, asking if they had enough horse stall mats for us to get to put across a basketball floor. So it's been a long process, but I'm hoping that everyone higher above me at Lifetime is super happy with the product. And then I'm hoping the field at Lifetime, all the coaches and personal trainers are super excited what we were able to bring.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that's a good jumping off point from there. So I was looking at some other interviews and whatnot that you've done in my kind of research for this, and you had said that the LT Games were a new standard in hybrid athlete competition. So I'm curious, what was the gap or maybe the opportunity that you saw in the sport landscape as compared to obviously HYROX, CrossFit, which this obviously, depending on how you look at it, like that, could be kind of a CrossFit-y workout that made you say like, hey, you know what, we want to build this, or there's an opportunity for us here. So I guess to rephrase that, because it was a run-on question, like what was the gap that you saw or the potential opportunity?
Yeah, I think from my background, right, I will say my Instagram handle is semi-fit West, because I don't consider myself to be a great athlete by any means. But I've done some local CrossFit competitions. I've done Tough Mudders. I've done, a couple backyard things. But really what it comes down to is, as we saw HYROX continue to rise and kind of blow the sport out of the water, we know at Lifetime that we have the facilities, we have the equipment, we have the people to be able to bring something to the masses and inside of our own four walls. So while we never went into this project to take on HYROX, because that would be silly, right? HYROX is a great company and they're doing amazing things. We did feel that there was an opportunity to give people a little bit more and something different to kind of have more things to train for, not have to worry about getting tickets and those different types of things. So I was really excited over this past weekend to hear how many people talked about how this lands somewhat in the middle of HYROX and CrossFit, because while I wouldn't have told anybody that was the vision, 6 months ago prior to us rolling this out, that was legit what was on our brains as we built this workout. Is I want someone like Marcus to have to go right straight eye to eye on these assault runners with someone who is considered an elite CrossFit athlete, and we give them the opportunity to throw down on the same course and see what it's all about.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's run through the workout really quick. So it starts off with it's 17 stations for those that aren't familiar. Station 1 is a 1,000 meter run. You then go into a barbell deadlift. Males must accumulate 10,000 pounds. We'll talk about this in a second. Females must accumulate 7,500 pounds. Then we go into a 1,000 meter row for men, 750 meter row for women. 1,000 pounds worth of wall balls for men, 750 pounds for women. Then ski erg, 1,000 for men, 750 for women. 1,000 inches of a box jump over for men, 750 for women. Then station 7, 600 meter run, barbell shoulder to overhead, 6,000 pounds for men, 4,500 pounds for women. Row, 600 meters men, 450 women. Wow, I'm already sweating just reading this. Station 10 is
so bad when you're reading it off like this.
It sounds terrible. Dumbbell box step over, 600 inches with a 60-pound ball for men, 450 inches with a 40-pound ball for women. 600 meters on the ski erg for men, 450 for women. 600 inches of burpee box jump overs for men, 450 for women. 400 meter run, both genders. Dumbbell ground to overhead, 4,000 pounds for men, 3,000 pounds for women. A 400 meter row for men, 300 for women. Station 16, over the shoulder dead ball toss, 400 pounds for men, 300 pounds for women. And then you finish with a 200 meter sprint finish. That is a lot. So I'm going to run through that one more time. It's a run, a barbell deadlift. No, hold on. I'm not going to read off the pounds. It's a run, a barbell deadlift, a row, wall balls, ski erg, box jump overs, run, shoulder to overhead, row, dumbbell box step over, ski, burpee box jump over, run, dumbbell ground to overhead, row, over the shoulder dumbbell toss, and then finish with a sprint finish. So when you built this format, I guess one question I had for you was, what was the hardest trade-off that you had to make? I'm thinking like accessibility versus elite performance as an example, or spectator experience versus athlete fairness. What were some of the trade-offs that you all considered as you were building this?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So one of the things I'll say this, and I don't think I've said this to really anyone else, and some of our Lifetime team members will remember this and probably are still haunted by this. But the first version we ever rolled out of this, I have been doing more CrossFit style workouts. At Lifetime, we call them alpha, functional fitness type of workouts. So that's been my passion for the last 4 or 5 years, and dove in. So when we wrote the original workout, the barbell movements, kind of where you see the deadlift, where you see the shoulder to overhead, where you see the dumbbell ground overhead, it was positioned where it was a deadlift and then a hang power clean and then a shoulder to overhead. And then one of the last stations was putting that all together of like barbell power clean and jerk. So it was building on every single step of the power clean and jerk. So that was like the original piece behind where the barbell came into play, because we really wanted to make sure that that was a piece of it. So after we put people through that and just saw them truly get demolished, we went back to the drawing board, just because of, we know that hang power clean is probably more technical than we want it to be for a larger population and rolling this out across the board. So we went away from the hang power clean and kind of went back to the drawing board. For the most part, every cardio piece stayed the same. And one of the kind of decreasing amounts of volume for the cardio pieces, we have a class in our signature group training portfolio here at Lifetime that's called Ultra Fit. And Ultra Fit is a sprint based class with some agility. And that was kind of the concept behind the decreasing amount of volume on the cardio pieces, because that starts with a 3-minute run and then it finishes with 15-second sprint intervals. So it's truly a sprint based class. So that's where this concept of kind of decreasing volume comes into play.
I've always thought that is something like in training for HYROX and in actual HYROX the race, that CrossFit, 2159 stuff like that, where you can keep the intensity high. I did like having that incorporated into this race, because man, some of those machines felt brutal towards the end anyways. I didn't want to be on there any longer.
And I was talking with somebody this weekend. They're like, yeah, when you see it on paper, you think like D-ball over the shoulder, like 10 reps. That's like, why are we even doing that? But then they told me
at that point in the race,
they told me they got to that and they were like, I'm so thankful this is here. So I've been calling it kind of a speed bump in the race, but it is there so that you're not going from a sprint row into another sprint run. We want to make you, get off and do something that means something.
And
Debo, at what point did you go lactic?
I came off the runner and I tried to get to the deadlifts very fast. And
you mean you went lactic immediately?
I promptly got like 10 no reps at least, I would say. Probably fair. I just couldn't hear my judge really. And after that, man, I was lit after that the whole way.
Yeah, that's everybody that did it. It sounds brutal. And it's kind of crazy because, similar to the first HYROX times, everybody did these sims and then they came into the race and kind of got bodied. Some of the times that we saw people putting up in their LT games simulations were not indicative of then what was possible. Obviously, the top two, by the way, Lauren Weeks, wow. Holy hell.
I was sticking my head the whole time.
Lauren might have been able to do the men's distances and everything else, and she still might have walked out beating Noah Olson. Dominant. But yeah, I mean, this is a tough time domain. This kind of sits, I think, probably fair to say, Debo, I don't know your opinion, but it seems like it's definitely between that HYROX and Deca Fit. So it's going to be kind of that blend of, obviously you got to have that endurance, but it is still kind of a sprint, kind of like sits in that 10K time domain is what it's looking like. And so we'll get to that in a second. But I think the other thing that's really interesting about the way that you set this up, in addition to some of the trade-offs you thought about, is really like what I'm calling the choose your own adventure, right? Of like loading this, like the loading system. So the heavier weights mean fewer reps. So for those of you that aren't familiar, if you saw some of the coverage, as Marcus mentioned, you get off of the runner, you go and then you load your deadlift bar yourself, and you choose the weights that you're adding on. The more, I believe, keep me honest here, Wes, but you give 3 options. Everything that involves a barbell, you give 3 options for men and women of the weight that you can do. The heavier the weight, the less reps, the less weight, the more reps you have to do, because you have to get to that poundage that we talked about earlier. And this is actually a really interesting design. So I guess what inspired that, and how did you test it to figure out like where the sweet spot was?
Yeah, I would love to. This is kind of where I talk about where I'll never take full credit for the kind of building this race. Danny King, who is one of the dynamic personal training leads here at Lifetime, I saw that spray, that water bottle spray all over you.
Shout out BPN sups that are now all over my face.
But Danny King, one of our dynamic personal training leads here at Lifetime, and arguably, if he was in the room, I wouldn't say this, but arguably one of the smartest guys I know in the training world.
That's how I feel about Debo.
He had been kind of messing around with this with some of the programming that he had been writing, and kind of threw it out there. And I was like, that actually that could work. That's something that's not in this space. I think if we find the right way to the right amount of volume, I think it can keep people engaged and keep people kind of wanting to come back, right? It really comes down to strategy. I think one of the things that I've been blown away by this weekend was Janelle Teal on Sunday, who would have been in the highlighted heats but couldn't come out till Sunday. When she got to that dumbbell ground overhead for the females, again, it's 3,000 total pounds of volume. She picked the lightest weight. She picked two 15-pound dumbbells. Now, Janelle, after getting to meet her, those are, right, like she is way stronger than the 30 pounds that she was lifting. But she had to do 100 reps, and she went unbroken on those. And she actually got no rep like 5 times. So she had to do 105, but she went unbroken on those. And I think while that's an amazing feat, I probably weigh 60 pounds more than her, and I don't think I could do that. I also go back to if she were to do the 25-pound dumbbells and only do 58 reps or whatever it is, would it have been faster, even though she would have had to break, would it have still been faster than going unbroken on those? So I think the part that's most exciting about everyone in the world coming back to try to chase Lauren Week's time is you have to pick the right format. You have to pick the right kind of adventure for yourself as an athlete, know how to break it. As you said, with HYROX, right? It starts out and people don't really know what it is. And then they start to do some math and they start to do some figuring out of the race course. So I think it lends nicely to someone who's going to want to find the small ways to make, take a couple seconds off of each session, each station, and get faster.
Were there any surprises with athlete choices that you didn't see coming in? Like they went lighter than you thought on most movements or heavier? I mean, besides obviously the Janelle example.
I'm going to say no, because we did do a content shoot, right? We grabbed some content to like try to build out what LT Games was about. And we had some pretty high level athletes come to that. Nikki, who took 4th for the women, she was part of that. Will Carter, who was also out there. Nico Bedone, who had a really fast time again. And then Nick Matthew, who's a local.
Not faster than Marcus Wallace. Not
faster. You are correct. So we had seen these what I would consider high level athletes take on the course. And it was a shock to me as, again, semi-fit. When I've done the course, I've always been like, I'm going to pick the heaviest barbell because I got less reps. To see those guys who are way more fit than me go with those medium weights and just move them faster, I knew that the athletes coming in would have some type of strategy and some type of idea to get through these reps, faster than the others.
Yeah, and I think I like what I like about this, and I don't remember, and I apologize. Somebody definitely said this on Instagram.
I was wondering.
Yeah, someone definitely said this. I don't know who did, but I liked I think you made it. I think you did the right thing by making it competitive, because a couple of people noted like, okay, well, what if the dudes could go even heavier? I mean, let's just call it what it is. We have Noah Olson, who Marcus has 3 or 4 top 5 individual finishes at the games, and I think in 2019 was 2nd, so the 2nd fittest man in the world, and he's still in his obviously in his career. You've got Cole Sager, who's got a top 5 finish at the games and a couple of top 10s, I believe, and is still, I think this year he was in the top 25. So you've got some of the biggest names in CrossFit. You got Sam Dancer in this field as well, who is a Masters champion and a multiple time games athlete out of Invictus. And so if I that was one of the things that stuck out to me was, I think if you look at the leaderboard, let's just go with the men. Noah Olson took 1st in a 39.03, but Dylan Scott, who is obviously known for his engine, not necessarily his strength or his lifting abilities, still put up a very respectable fight, was within a minute of Noah. And then Jack Driscoll, who was right there as well, who is blaming the fact that he went to a wedding the night before for his loss. Love you, Jack. And they beat out Cole Sager. And then you had Marcus right there as well, who obviously is kind of that nice blend between the CrossFit space and then the endurance space. And so, I think time will tell who's going to be best at this, but at least in the first iteration, like, there's not really one domain that's got dominance here. And I think that is in large part because of the way that you did the choose your own adventure. Because if they could just go heavier, Noah probably could have just ripped out 275 on deadlift and pounded right through that thing, and it would have been over from the jump.
Yeah. And I think, in all honesty, that was one of the probably biggest worries going into the weekend is like, as someone who, has put my heart and soul into this, I didn't want it to be skewed. I wanted the leaderboard to end up pretty much how it ended up with a good mix of the athletes, because I think that lends to like, okay, who is going to train in some of these, with some of these movements a little bit more coming into it. So I was happy with that. I wouldn't say I would have been disappointed if it was a clean sweep with, one modality over the other, but I was very happy to see how it played out from the male perspective. I think from the female perspective, I watched, Matt B. Davis with hybrid. I watched Marcus get on yesterday. I think they were right. Our female field, while still have amazing athletes in it, I'm excited to see potentially what the future holds for LT Games and which other females we could get excited about a race format like this.
These athletes all took it very seriously too. I thought I was doing good. I did one run through of it, and then I got there, and Dylan's done at least 2. Cole said he did 2. I think Noah did 3. So everyone was getting after it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, let's get to probably the most, I don't know if you'll be honest with this, Wes. Did you envision that there would be one person who would absolutely blow the field out of the water? And did you know it would be Lauren Weeks, or did that surprise you as well?
I mean, if you would have asked me, now here's the thing. As someone who has literally watched every CrossFit Games for the last 10 years and has really, made time to sit and watch every live stream of HYROX I could over the last couple of years, I would not have guessed that we had the field that we did for our first ever LT Games. So as these names started to come in, and as I got to meet Marcus via email and start to look up his background and stuff, like, I knew that people were going to go super fast. Did I think they were going to go as fast as they did? I'll be honest, no, because we just hadn't seen it before, right? When we built this workout, the cool piece about this, and maybe this is me biting off a little bit more than I can chew right now, but the cool piece about the Torque setup that we have, our official equipment provider, is it's all modular. It's like adult Legos, right? It's like a fitness Lego set. So I remember having a conversation with Connor, our lead judge, and saying, hey, when someone goes sub 40 minutes, we're going to have to change the workout. And I look pretty silly saying that right now with how many people were really close to going sub 40, because I want to see how much faster they can go. But the great part about this is, like, I think there are still some seconds to be shaved, and I think Lauren would probably agree that she could even go faster. So I would not have guessed people went as fast as they did if I was a betting man, and I would never do that on my own race that I'm overseeing. Lauren probably would have been
FBI Cash Patel, if you're listening. There is no insider.
Not the NBA.
There's not the NBA. There's no insider gambling. The mob is not involved in the LT Games.
I knew 100% Lauren was going to win coming in. I do Lauren, and
that's not the question, Marcus. The question is, did you know that she was going to blow everyone? With all due respect to Noah Olson, she was going to blow everyone out of the water.
I think the woman, she would have still beat us by multiple minutes probably, but maybe wouldn't have blown us out of the water as much. I think the machines are quite short for the woman, and she's such a good runner. That's the equal one where she's not giving anything up on the run too. So
So that, I guess that'd be my question for you, Wes. That was going to be my next question is what was like from a metric standpoint, what surprised you? Obviously the time surprised you because you just mentioned that you thought that 40 minutes is kind of that sweet spot. So would you add stations or would you rethink distances, reps, total poundage?
As of right now, I will say no. I won't say that that's not something that Lifetime will talk about in the future, with the future of LT games. But this is probably more my OCD is the way that we built the volume of the weighted exercise. All of the weight is 75% of what the male athletes are doing. So that's where the volume of meters comes into play on the rower and on the ski on the ripper. So that's really for my OCD to make sure everything looked as clean as possible throughout the course. That 75% of the cardio pieces was what came into play. Same thing with the box jump, the wall balls, etc. It's just kind of that 75% workload. And when we think about usual, right?
But you could increase both. Like there's precedent for that. HYROX, when sled times got too fast, they increased the sled weight to slow things back down into their kind of expected time domain.
Yeah, I think that increasing both makes me really nervous about what people will put their bodies through in order to get through this race. I mean,
shout out Wes. He doesn't want anyone getting a rhabdo. He doesn't want to see. He doesn't want to see Debo on the floor.
And I think like it was our first one. Some people signed up without knowing what LT Games was. I think someone signed up. Like they came to the Target Center location the Saturday when the event was going on. And we're like, this looks cool. Let me sign up for Sunday. And I was like, that's not a good idea. Right. We had a total of 150 athletes signed up. And I think, I don't have the exact numbers, but I think we only had 120 finish. So wow. they were either time capped with 6 minutes at each station, the 3 times, or they were just physically unable to finish or mentally unable to put themselves through it.
Okay, so that was a rule. Oh, go ahead, Marcus.
Is that something that you see as a problem, or do you see that as something that's actually good, as in those people now have something to work towards? Like, oh, I want to be able to finish this and do it at the next one.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. And the reason being, Bram Akrati, our CEO and founder, when I got to work with him on kind of the idea behind LT Games, he said, this race is to find the fittest human being. Our intent is not to push, and this is going to sound, I'm going to preface this, right? This is not going to sound like a shot at anybody because I will be in Dallas in a few weeks to do my first ever race. So this is not a shot, but this race is not for everyone. So I think yes, I want people to want to come back and do more, but also this is not something that someone should sign up for on a whim or without properly training for it. Otherwise, it's not going to be a great experience for them.
So, okay. So that's interesting. I totally get that. Like, and obviously for everybody that lives under a rock, HYROX is the fitness race for everyone. Although I would also agree that you really shouldn't sign up for a HYROX without training for it either. I mean, they do let you finish, but like there comes a point when, yeah, we're never mind. We're going to keep it to this. Would you ever do and that makes sense. Cause if you come into a box, a CrossFit gym, and you want to do a workout, they have time caps all the time.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, if you don't finish an open workout in the time cap, as an example, your score is typically your reps, right? It's not, you don't get the time that goes with it. Would you all ever consider and it sounds like the answer is no, because it's not the race for everybody. Would you ever consider like a scaled version of the LT Games?
I don't want to use the word scaled. I will say that there is conversation of age groups. And with age groups, I do believe that there is a potential to have certain adaptations to the workout, right? Of either total volume or box heights or pieces like that. But I think we would, before scaling the workout, I think that we would make small changes based on age brackets that we were able to bring out.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. What was one thing that we always appreciate is that these events probably I'm all the coverage was great. Everybody said that it was an awesome experience. There's a video going around of the judges wiping down stations, which everyone really appreciate. I think Matt B. Davis might have called them the LT Games elves. They were hard at work, and we appreciate that. For you, what was the biggest logistical or operational lesson that you learned that you might take and do differently next time?
That's a good question, because while have gotten great feedback, which is amazing, there were a lot of little things that I know are in the back of my head that I want to do better. For those of you that did watch, we had the way the course is set up is it's one straight line. So Marcus' heat time was at 2:00, and then we had another heat starting at 2:15. For our elite athletes, there wasn't much of a worry about an athlete being caught on the course. But if I were to start at 2 and Marcus was to start at 2:15, Marcus is probably going to catch me on the course, right? So as we get deeper into this workout and the kind of life of LT Games, we hope that people will get a sense of truly how long they're going to need on the course for the entirety of the race. The one thing that I was somewhat unsure about, I was pretty confident, but somewhat unsure about, is we had the 15-minute wave starts. There was talk of, do we need 20 minutes? Should it be 10 minutes? And we did have a couple instances of athletes being caught by the person behind them, where, again, at that point in the race, if you are caught 3 times, if you're caught or close to being caught, you got a time cap and we moved you to the next station. If you were caught 3 times, then you were removed from the course. And
so what happens when someone gets caught, Wes?
Yeah.
So like if I'm Marcus, I'm sure you staggered it this way so the elites didn't have this problem. But like if I'm Marcus and I catch someone, obviously I know that it's a race against the clock because Noah Olson's coming later. Mm-hmm. How do you ensure that A, Marcus gets to keep going, but then B, this is something we debate in HYROX all the time with penalties. Is it a little bit of a benefit to Marcus if he has to wait 30 seconds for someone to unload a bar because he gets a little bit of rest?
Yeah, and thankfully the way that we had 2 head judges, Connor Fleming and Jordan Young, who did an amazing job making sure that the space was kind of flowing properly, is when there were those situations that came up. If it came to a close, they would be able to hear both judges on the rep count that they're at, and then they would make the executive decision as the lead judges on the course to move the athlete who was being caught. So say, for instance, I'm ahead of Marcus on the burpee box jump overs and he's trailing right behind me. If time-wise, if they know Marcus is going to run so fast to be able to catch me, I would receive the time cap, the 6-minute time cap at that station, while also getting the typical 6-minute penalty of getting the time cap to get me right ahead so that Marcus has a little bit of room and I'm not slowing him down. If that was the case for 3 stations throughout the course, I was then removed, got out of the way so that Marcus had no issues moving forward. So the way that we handled that, thankfully ran, knock on wood, super smooth for our first run through, but it is something as we continue to, plan for our next one, we want to make sure that we have an even tighter reins on.
Did that happen much in like the outside of the like highlighted heats? Was that happening in the more normal ones?
I won't say it happened much, but I will say that there was a handful of occasions of where that happened. Just due to the fact of athletes probably falling into the trap of running way too fast on that 1,000 meters because of the adrenaline, because of the excitement, and then getting punched in the face by the LT Games course, right? Because if you start out, that's what's fun about this course is if you don't pace and you don't stay within yourself on this course, it becomes a really ugly experience the rest of the 15, 16 stations that you have to do.
Yeah, so let's actually. Oh, go ahead, Marcus.
I just want to, if we're on logistics, I had a question about the judges. So Connor, I know, was running the ship. He did an awesome job. Every judge I interacted with, they were all super professional. They seemed very knowledgeable about the workout, about the standards, everything. Where did you source these judges from? Because I think in HYROX, that's one of the problems. They're volunteers or they're like temp agencies. So they might not even know what a wall ball is before that day. So if you could just speak a little bit on that and the training that they had.
Yeah. So I handed off all judge certification process to Connor. So shout out to Connor Fleming for making sure that was a really tight process. I'm embarrassed to say this on a podcast that a bunch of people are going to watch, but I helped film the movement standard videos for our judges' assessment. So I was the one that filmed him. And then Connor put together the assessment, and I failed the assessment the first time. I had to go back and retake it. But all of the judges are either coaches or lifetime employees that take these types of classes. So all of the judges coach either our GTX, our Ultra Fit, our Alpha Conditioning, our Alpha Strength, or our LT Games classes. So they have experience in this space of running classes. And then, as I alluded to, they had to take an assessment. So we had all 17 stations had a video of Connor doing movements where we were trying to find ways to make sure that they would see every possible scenario that they could, and then they had to pass an assessment by the second time that they took it in order to be eligible to judge.
It does seem like that's probably a little bit easier for you all than some of these other mass participation events. And what I specifically mean by that is you've got, how many people do you have going at a time?
Well, 4 people start every 15 minutes. So on the course, depending on how fast everyone's going, at one point, I think we had 20.
You'd have 16. Yeah, 16 to 20. Yeah. So you only need 16 to 20 good judges. And I think that definitely benefits. I want to go back to something that you were talking about right before Marcus asked that question. And this one's for you, Marcus. We just spent a little bit of time earlier talking about the choose your own adventure element. And obviously that means strategy. So which loads you pick, how you break up the sets. Could you maybe talk us through your strategy for ones, like maybe an example of a strategy that going into it, you were like, oh, I'm definitely doing this. And then you got to the station and the race dictated, actually, LOL JK, I'm doing something completely different. How did you, I mean, you're an analytical guy, so I know you definitely had a strategy for every single station. Did it go the way that you thought it was, or did you have to adjust on the fly?
I was pretty set on my strategy. Old me definitely would have liked the 225-pound deadlift, but skinny runner me went with the 185. As I said, I got a lot of no reps there, which made everything else a little more painful. But yeah, the shoulder to overhead 135 would have been a stretch. I was thinking maybe like a 115 bar would have been really nice, but I think even I saw Noah Olson was doing like the 95-pound bar. Generally, I think it was just speed of reps, like being able to do push press versus push jerks. And I know even with the 95, I tried some push jerks and that cycle speed, my triceps were frying out. So those, I did do the 30-inch burpee.
Real quick on that, Wes, how did you feel like the judging was on the push press? Because that's obviously a movement that could get subjective quick, because then, everybody's, range of motion is different. Did we get lockout? Did we not? How did you feel about the quality on that? Because like that's, for us on the HYROX side, obviously the one thing that everyone picks apart all day long is the wall ball, but they usually get it for the depth. Whereas push press, depending on where the judge is at, it could get real dicey going above that many times, especially at the speed at which they were going.
Yeah, and I think Marcus is setting me up there to talk about the athlete that he was just talking about with that 95-pound barbell, because Noah was moving that barbell at a ridiculous rate. I think he was doing 2 reps every second when he first picked up the barbell. So that is one of those pieces where, while I will say that our judging, I felt was as fair as it possibly could, it's one of those pieces where no matter what race it is, whether it's the CrossFit Games or HYROX or LT Games or any, that's always going to be the part that, unless you're in person and watching how fast this is going to happen or watching how fast things happen, is going to be the kind of easiest low-hanging fruit to pick apart. Was the judging perfect? No, it definitely wasn't. Is that something that myself and Connor have already talked about how to improve? I can guarantee you that it is. And I can say that we're even more excited for our second opportunity when we get to do this, because then we can tighten up on those judging standards, and we can have, an even kind of deeper or more robust rule book to make sure that all of our athletes have that in hand, and we can clarify all of those things. So there were slight issues when it comes to judging, just as there is with everything. But in Lifetime Way, we're already back to the drawing board to figure out how we can make it better.
It's just a matter of time before Batman himself, Hiller Fit, is
Connor's had nightmares. Connor's been waking up every morning the last couple of days, checking his Instagram.
Hey, you know what? You know what they say? All All coverage is good coverage, right? So all that's going to do is just blow you up even more, which is a good thing. So Marcus, sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your flow. So we covered the strategy. So you did execute it how you thought you were going to the whole way through.
Well, I was executing it how I thought I was going to execute it. And then I got to the end and I was so excited. I'm like, okay, I got this DECA background where you do these little dumb shoulder ball over your shoulders and you do the little reverse pivot. And I got so excited to bust it out. I grabbed the 20-pound ball. It felt extremely light, which meant I had to do, I just rewatched it. So I did 10. And then I thought my judge was saying, come back to do one more rep. So I did one more. Then I tried to get back on the runner. Then I realized she was saying do 10 more because I had grabbed the wrong ball. So that cost me, may have cost me a placement in the end.
Race spray.
Yep. Titular. Yep.
That's deep in the race though. So that's tough. I guess, how did you feel like you were cooked after the deadlift? I mean, that's diabolical to put the deadlift right away.
I mean, yes, a little bit, but then the good thing is after that you have a row. So you had a while on the rower. It's 1,000-meter row, and then 50 wall balls, and then a ski right after that. So there's a good enough time where you can sort of recover back before you got to get to that barbell. And then I would say the crux for most people is those double dumbbells, shoulder to overhead at the end. I did the 35s for guys, and I think just about everyone I saw ended up doing those.
Okay. So I'm curious, now that you've done one, we obviously, there's a million HYROX training podcast, Marcus, and every coach out there has an 8 to 12 week program. If someone wanted to prep for the LT games or an LT game style event, what do you think? Do you think it's something that you would need to do like a specific block for 8 to 12 weeks? Do you think it's something that kind of your general hybrid fitness would carry you, and then you could do race specificity? I said it right this time, for 3 to 4 weeks leading up to it. Obviously the strength piece is an element of it. I guess what are your thoughts on what a good training program would look like in theory to lead up to it?
I feel like I had a very good training program. Being on the hybrid engine, the program
world record holder.
Lauren Weeks, obviously Anthony's like a level 3 CrossFit coach. So we do a lot of CrossFit type stuff. We lift a lot still.
Shout out to Hybrid Engine.
If you were a CrossFitter type who's been into HYROX now, and then you're looking at this, I think probably don't change up too much. If you're more of like the endurance triathlon based type and you've gotten into HYROX, just because it is quite a bit more strength demand, I would say you'd probably need a good like 12 weeks to really build up to be able to handle those weights well.
So then from a programming perspective, you feel like it actually probably favors people that do a little bit more strength than endurance.
Yes, definitely. I feel like a good amount of people in the HYROX world, they've gotten where they can survive the stations. But yes, these are tough to just survive. You really got to be able to push some weight a little bit.
All right. Dude, you finished 5th? That's not bad. 41-10.
And by 1 second, I saw that guy on Sunday. I just barely pipped him. So that would have made me sad on my drive home if I saw that.
Overall, Marcus, how did you feel about your performance, and what would you, other than grabbing the right wall ball, what would you tweak next time?
I felt like I was a little frantic towards the beginning, probably breaking stuff up a little more, rewatching some of the other guys. They really hammered it a little more towards the end, I think, where I was from the burpee box jumps on, just hanging on. So maybe just a little pacing, just get a little more practice with the feel for it.
Okay. And then looking ahead, is this something you'll do again, Marcus?
I would definitely love to do it again. It was a great experience. I think we've been talking about the actual workout itself, but there was a lot of stuff outside the workout as well that was really awesome. I mean, we had super easy registration. You register, you got a nice 10,000 shirt, you got a pair of Nobles.
Shout out 10,000. Shout out Noble.
My cool ice shaker right here.
Shout out Lifetime Fitness.
With that, you're in a Lifetime Fitness for this event, and it's not like it's packed out. So you could warm up, really do anything you needed for a warm up. After, you could hop in the hot tub there. You could take a shower at Lifetime and then get on with your day. So it was a great experience, just even outside the workout. That's
a great segue, because that was actually going to be my question for you. Well, for you both. the thing I think that draws people to HYROX and DECA is the community, and HYROX specifically, it's the atmosphere and the event. Like people talk about like what a cool production it is. A lot of people talked about that other than just the ability to use the Lifetime facilities, which are world class. Marcus, what was just the overall environment like inside the venue? They had our girl Danielle as an MC, so it was hype. There's no way it wasn't. But talk to us about the rest of the experience. We had music playing like you do in these other races? Was it sound just like the breath and barbells clanging, or what was the environment like?
As someone who just likes to listen to Blink 182 by myself in my garage while I work out, it was a little extreme for me. But yes, there was extreme music. They had like a DJ. There was all the photographers, multiple cameras. I think even one thing I know a lot of people get frustrated on HYROX, they have friends who want to watch them. And anyone could have, they were streaming it all day. So I was watching people in the morning go. So that's another benefit. I would say overall, to me, it just felt like a bit more of like a premium experience than a HYROX. Obviously, it's a little more intimate. It's cool to be able to, hang out, chat with everyone after, since there's only a couple hundred people running through. So a different feel, and I really enjoyed it.
All right, let's hit some rapid fire questions, and I got one final question for Wes after that. So, kind of building off that, Marcus and Wes, what surprised each of you, or what was like the moment of the day? Could be an athlete coming in, maybe like a crowd reaction. Was there a moment that like the whole arena got psyched, or what was one moment that stuck out to each of you?
I gotta say, it was a Lauren Week show at the end there. She was on that treadmill. There was like 8 cameras. I don't even know where these cameras were coming from, but yes, it was all about her to finish the day. She was the last heat of the day.
Yeah, mine was actually during Friday night's athlete briefing to stand on a box and look out and see a bunch of faces that I've literally looked up to in the fitness space for so long. That was a very cool experience. And then the other one for me, I know I'm taking 2 here, but we run classes out of this space in the week that I get to teach. So I was able to talk a couple of my athletes into getting outside their comfort zone and doing their first ever hybrid race and taking on LT games. So to see them accomplish something that they might not have ever done without that nudge made me really proud.
Cool. All right, for both of you, favorite station of the 17 and why?
My favorite station on this weekend, at least in my heat, was I was running against some CrossFitters, so I love being on that assault runner. You can get that thing humming for that first 1,000 meters.
Just
especially with the long legs, you got a little more weight. I think it was very nice for me.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to say it is the D-ball over shoulder, because I know once I get through this, then I only have a 200-meter sprint to the end, and then 200 meters I can usually survive.
Love that. On the flip side, one station you'd secretly delete if you could, and why?
I wouldn't delete it because it really sets athletes apart. But the dumbbell ground to overhead is something that I am personally terrible at pacing this workout. So I always get to the dumbbell ground to overhead, and that 6-minute time cap is always in the back of my head. So while I wouldn't delete it, I know that it is something that a lot of people that went through the course this past weekend might vote to delete.
I would not delete. I would modify the final 10 sandbags over shoulder to be like a 150-pound sandbag clean.
150-pound sandbag clean, Marcus.
That would have broke the raccoon's back, and then I could have taken him down.
Tough. That is tough.
Can I do a segment where Wes can rate my ideas?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, you can just make these quick, and you can dunk on them if you would like. Okay, so it's sort of a time trial we're doing. So in cycling, when they do the time trials, whoever has the fastest time of that day, they get to like sit on a little podium until the next guy has a faster time, and then they sort of shake hands, and then he moves along with his day. Would that be cool to have at the Lifetime Games?
10 out of 10. I'll start talking to sponsors right now who wants to sponsor the chair.
Perfect. Love it. HYROX versus CrossFit. We do teams where maybe we get a team of like 2 male HYROX, 2 female, and then versus 2 male CrossFitters, 2 female. And it's everyone still runs an individual race, but it's cumulative time in the end?
I'm gonna say 7 out of 10. We know that I will say, and this is a hot topic. You're the first to hear this, but doubles is always in the back.
Breaking
of our mind.
news.
Doubles is always in the back of the mind if we can make that logistically happen inside the space. But I actually really like athlete teams of 2 cumulative time.
And last idea, so we had a dinner after the event and we were talking, and I don't think people realized how big Lifetime Fitness was. So I was like, okay, let's guess the market cap of Lifetime. I guess 4 billion. Everyone's like, you're crazy. And then people were guessing like 200 million. For the audience, the market cap last time I checked was 5.7 billion. So it is a very large company. They also have many other events. So they are an event company, put on a lot of runs, the Lifetime Grand Prix, which is more of a cycling race. Do we do LT Games in conjunction with like a 10K in Chicago? You do the 10K one day, Lifetime Games the next day.
They already do the Lifetime half.
Exactly. And then you combine your times, and then that's the real champion of the weekend.
I really like that. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 because here's the reason. While Lifetime runs the Chicago half, we also have the Miami half. So if we're going to go somewhere to do that, I think it should be Miami. I love Chicago, but Miami seems like a better place.
That's all I have for that segment.
Yeah, that's going to be that'd get some people. Miami, Lifetime Fitness, that sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, Wes, last question for you, and then we will wrap it up and let you go. You're effectively building a new competition brand. So where do you see Lifetime Games in 2 years, maybe 5 years? What's on the roadmap for you?
Yeah, I love that you asked that because it's something that I've been thinking about before, even this past weekend. But long-term vision within side of Lifetime is the great part about Lifetime is we already have the square footage to be able to kind of replicate this in other places. So our hope is over the next 2 to 5 years to build more locations very similar to what we have here at our Target Center location across the country. Now, Target Center location is a very unique one because it is a former NBA basketball team's practice facility. So that we don't have those in but every one of our
tough footprint to replicate.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but we do have the space to be able to build more of these beautiful torque setups and kind of set up the LT Games race course. So that 2 to 5 years to continue to build some locations. We have 3 coming in the next few months, and then as we build more, we would love to be able to host kind of regional events that all stem up to a national event, right? So you go to the Dallas Invitational or Dallas Regional, you qualify in a certain amount of people, and that gives you your invite to the national competition, which will probably always be held here in the Target Center location in Minneapolis.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Wes, congratulations on a successful first weekend. I think the hybrid community is relatively positive, but people definitely let their feelings be known whenever there's things that they don't like. And I don't think I saw one negative piece of feedback or coverage on the games, which I think just goes to speak as to how clean of an event you all ran. So congratulations. Looking forward to more of these. I really appreciate you coming on. Really quickly, before we wrap up today's episode, we did have some HYROX races this weekend. Wes, you do not have to stick around.
I have one quick question for Wes.
Oh. Yeah.
There were a lot of people that were experiencing FOMO from missing this event. Is there anything on the timeline, any next events, any locations that you're able to share?
I'm not going to share locations just because construction is not my thing, and I'm not going to put the pressure on them. I will say that we did not have a race ready because we wanted to survive this weekend. So thank you for all the positive feedback. But early conversations, I will just say that April is a beautiful time here in Minneapolis. So maybe everyone should try to keep their calendars open for April.
A teaser.
Two breaking newses. All right, Wes, like I said, you don't have to stick around to listen to us recap the this is going to take a few minutes, but you do not have to stick around. So if you got other things to do,
I'm going to Dallas. I'm going to Dallas. I need to know.
All right. We had some races this weekend. Marcus, across the pond, as they say, in Birmingham. I think that's how you say it, the UK way, Birmingham. Your top 5 men on the pro side: Sean Noble with a 55.04, Jake Dearden 55.16, Charlie Bottrell. Does this man race every weekend? The answer is yes, 55.31. Roberto Viciedo Jimeno 57.08, and Michael Stevens 57.10. This locks Noble and Dearden back into the Elite 15. Charlie Bottrell is on a generational run right now. To be 22 again. I think those are the 3 big impacts for the men's side. Marcus, your thoughts?
There was one other guy. So I went back and I watched the tracker of this race, and there's this guy who came out blazing and had the lead for a while. I'm like, who is this guy? He's just going to fall off. But then he didn't. So I looked him up. The guy I believe he ended up in 6th overall.
Luke Greer.
57.33. It's already in his bio on Instagram. His bio on Instagram: fastest runner in HYROX, 5K, 14:16, 10K, 29:49, half marathon, 67 minutes. So could be someone to watch out for as he continues to improve on all the other parts of HYROX.
It's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. Are we sure that that's true, though? That he's the fastest person in HYROX?
It says it right here in his Instagram bio.
Well, that's why you should put former world record holder of the LT games. Good for Sean Noble, dropping another 55. Good to see Jake Dearden back running times that we know he's capable of. And I mean, Charlie Bottrell, I don't know how to explain the last 5 weeks that he's been on other than the fact that he's 22. So pretty crazy. On the women's side, Emma Duckworth with a 60.21, Kat Parnell 61.31, Charlie Sherrill 61.50, Gabriella Marati 61.58, and Tanya Strohschneider 62.54. Obviously, that 60.21 by Emma Duckworth and all these sub 62s are going to have an impact. I wonder where that puts Gabriella on the. I should know this, but I don't. Marcus, do you know where that puts her in the rankings? I'll look.
I was all LT games this weekend. I haven't caught up on
Marcus is got to get on it. That is. It doesn't look like it has been updated yet, but that should put her. It should give her a decent time because the cutoff is 62.09. So that was Birmingham. And then we had another race in France, in Paris. This was not a fast race. Guillaume Lavoie, 60.52. Tommy Valentin, 61.10. Theo Lane, 61.15. Quentin Garrell, 62.03. Oliver Hoove, 62.41. None of those times are going to impact the Elite 15. And then on the women's side, we had Lucy Proctor, 63.52, Margot Van den Lindenloof, 66.05, Eva Rodriguez, 66.10, and Caroline Carpentier, 67.38. And then rounding out your top 5, Ambre Karam, 67.49. Those times are respectable, but they will not impact the Elite 15. We did obviously have breaking news last week that has already been rectified, but HYROX announced that they were going to implement the pro card. And if you did not have a pro card and race between September 1st and October 22nd, why that date, no one knows. Your time was not going to be eligible beginning January 1st. This obviously would have had a massive impact on the likes of people like Cole Learn, potentially others as well. We know that Charlie had his pro card because he had to have it for the Hamburg doubles. They about faced in about 24 hours and said that they were going to retroactively apply it, but you had 24 hours to get it. I don't think there's a whole lot to say on this, Marcus, other than they did the right thing, although the easier thing just would have been to communicate clearly up front and not make a change midway through the fall season.
They did communicate clearly up front that you did not need this to qualify for anything. So yes, they did, but then they just went back on exactly what they said.
Yeah, but they went back on it. But it all is well that ends well. Everybody should be fine. And if you don't know, now you know, get your pro card. All right. We're like a week away from actually not even a week away. We got Atlanta in 3 days. We got a lot of people racing there. We got the Raccoon racing there, Kent's racing there. I think Jack's racing there. Marcus, you're gonna be dadding so hard and trick or treating, correct?
Yes, I will definitely not be in Atlanta.
Yeah. All right. And then Wes, you're gonna be in Dallas?
Yeah, my first race. My wife and I are doing mixed doubles for the first time. Don't expect us to need a pro card by any means, but we're excited to experience.
Wes, I will also be in Dallas. We'll have to meet up
sure.
and connect in person. It'd be great.
Yeah. Awesome.
Wes, I appreciate you hopping on. Marcus, it's always a pleasure. I miss you already. I wore my Milwaukee shirt today because that's how sad that I am. That's right. That's the Hone Bridge, ladies and gentlemen. It lights up at night. It's pretty dope. Milwaukee, top 5 city in the U.S., and it's not 5. I said it. All right, boys, we did it. Peace.
Appreciate it.